There was some momentous occasion, I can't remember exactly what it was, whether it was my mother-in-law's birthday or my parrot's funeral, but I needed to buy a suit for it. My wife, Celeste, gave me a piercing look and announced the wonderful news that I should direct my footsteps to the stores that very day and pick out a decent one. My bewilderment and reasonable arguments that no one would be looking at me anyway were met with a meaningful silence. After all, who pays attention to the husband of a woman hosting guests or throwing a party anyway? I decided that my role would be to blend into the background, maybe hold a plate of appetizers or smile politely. Surely no one would interrupt their conversations to criticize my choice of outfit. But Celeste didn't fall for such logic. Her silence told me that the decision had already been made. In the end, I didn't go on a monologue about how people with strange expressions would wander around the room, dropping hints and checking to see if I was looking at them at a 70-degree angle. Celeste rejected all my arguments. I eventually resigned myself to the inevitable. The best strategy in these situations was always to nod like a bobblehead doll to avoid hours of thinking between blue and gray. With a heavy sigh, I set out in search of the perfect ensemble. Finding an outfit has never been my favorite pastime. I've always found the ordeal tedious. Every store seemed to taunt me with endless rows of suits that looked either like relics of the past, with wide lapels and paisley patterns straight out of the 70s, or like they belonged in a budget fashion show, adorned with garish gold buttons and overly shiny fabrics. I scoured the racks, my patience wearing thin with each ill-fitting jacket and gaudy tie. I struggled to find a balance between decent quality and a price that wouldn't eat up the year's budget. It was like an odyssey. One store led to another, then another. Finally, I stumbled upon something more or less suitable. It wasn't the epitome of style, but it also didn't resemble my grandfather's graduation suit from the last century. Satisfied, I grabbed a couple more options and decided to try them on, intending to choose the best fit. Halfway through the fitting, I heard a woman's infectious laughter coming from the other end of the store. There was a melodic charm to the laughter, and it almost distracted me from the tedious task I was burdening myself with. Before I realized what was happening, the dressing room curtain swung open in a most insolent manner, and I froze with surprise. My heart raced, confusion and indignation struggled for power. Was this some kind of prank? My mind had no time to comprehend the audacity of the intrusion, and for a moment I was stunned and frozen in place. My mouth opened and closed uselessly, like a fish in an aquarium. In front of me stood a beautiful curly-haired girl who seemed completely unperturbed by my intrusion. She introduced herself as Serafina, a name that matched her lively personality. "Sorry to disturb you," she said with a mischievous smile, her voice light, as if we were old acquaintances. Without a shadow of shyness, and certainly without waiting for my permission, she slipped into a small booth, leaving me puzzled. It turned out she needed help with the zipper on her dress, which was annoyingly stuck in the back. Her request was as audacious as her actions, defying unspoken societal norms of personal space and decorum. Most people would have hesitated or at least apologized for the intrusion, but Serafina acted as if entering someone else's fitting room was the most natural thing in the world. Her casual confidence and complete disregard for convention disarmed me for a moment. I hesitated for a moment, then exhaled and gingerly reached for the zipper. When I pulled it down, the unyielding fabric finally gave way, revealing a smooth back and perfectly aligned shoulders. I was struck by her composure, a nonchalance mixed with charm. "Thank you so much. You're such a serious man in a suit," she said, her voice playful as she looked at me through thick lashes. The compliment caught me off guard, and perhaps influenced by the strange, almost surreal atmosphere, I couldn't help but smile. Lightly, almost instinctively, I ran my fingers over her exposed shoulder. "You're very attractive in that dress too," I replied, a note of humor in my voice. "But I guess you look even better without it." Serafina laughed, the sound bright and sincere, as if my remark was the most natural thing in the world. It was a whirlwind moment charged with spontaneity and inexplicable energy. For a brief second, the boring thoughts of buying a suit completely vanished from my mind, replaced by the strange attraction of this encounter. Thankfully, I didn't forget to buy the suit afterward, though it will forever be etched in my memory, linked to that unexpected, fleeting interaction. Every time I put it on, I can't help but think of Serafina's sassy charm and that surreal moment in the fitting room. The costume became more than just an outfit for an event. It became a memory of an unlikely encounter, a reminder that even mundane affairs can hold the most unusual and unforgettable surprises. The costume fulfilled its function at the event, but more than the fabric or the style, the vivid memories of Serafina's infectious laughter and the unusual coincidence of our meeting remain.